So there's a presidential candidate by the name of Marianne Williamson. Now, this woman is Oprah Winfrey's spiritual advisor. She's wrote many books, and many people view her as new age in a lot of her beliefs. But when we're talking about a black agenda, we're talking about people focusing things that's going to help the African American community, and we stated that we're not voting for anyone unless they give us something. And if they don't give us nothing, well, we're not going to do anything. It's just that simple. Donald Trump, being the way he is not going to change that mindset for us at all. Well, what's getting a lot of black people to talk about Marianne Williamson is her position on reparations. She actually put down on her website what she believes in with reparations. But I want you to hear just a short clip of her talking about this on CNN.
Right now, you are a candidate who believes that African Americans should receive reparations for slavery, specifically $100 billion paid out in a 10-year annual installment of $10 billion. Is this symbolic, or do you think this money goes to some practical purpose?
This is not symbolic at all. At the end of the Civil War, General Tecumseh Sherman promised to every formerly enslaved person 40 acres and a mule. And those 40 acres and a mule would have given a formerly enslaved population an opportunity to reintegrate, to integrate into free society. What happened instead, of course, was black code laws were passed in the American South, which ensured subpar social and political and economic opportunities for the former slave population. This was not addressed for 100 years until the Civil Rights Movement. And while the Civil Rights Movement gave Voting Rights Act, although that has been chipped away since 2013, and gave a lot of political opportunities that had not been there for the 100 years previous, it did not address the fact that we have not yet paid that debt. Germany has paid $89 billion in reparations to Jewish organizations since World War II, and Ronald Reagan signed the American Civil Liberties Act, by which we paid every surviving member who had been interned during the World War II in the Japanese internment camps $22,000. Right. I believe $100 billion given to a council that would apply this money to economic projects and educational projects of renewal for that population is simply a debt to be paid. And until we pay it, we will deal with these issues.
Now, that reporter, that's interesting. He used the word symbolism. Now, he don't agree with no reparations. I can tell you right now, the majority of white America don't agree with reparations. They don't. Trust me, they don't. They're not saying that at all. But it's not what the majority of them want or think. I believe we should discuss everything. But now let's put this up from her website and let's just kind of view this, because we need to talk about this and have this particular conversation. So as you can see here, it says advancing racial reconciliation today. Now, and she states in many ways, America has continued the process of racial reconciliation begun in the 1960s, yet in many other ways, have actually slipped backward. Yes, there are no more colored bathrooms and separate drinking fountains, but we now have mass incarceration, racial disparity in criminal sentencing, lost voting rights, outright voter suppression, and police brutality, often focused on black populations. Tepid solutions are not enough for the times in which we live. We need huge strategic acts of righteousness now, just as Germany has paid $89 billion in reparations to Jewish organizations since World War II. The United States should pay reparations for slavery. A debt unpaid is still a debt unpaid, even if it's 150 years later. The legacy of that injustice lives on with racist policies infused into our systems even to this day, from employment and housing discrimination to equal access to quality education in undeserved communities, to the police brutality / prejudice, to the lack of fair lending practices, to lack of access to quality health care, to insecure voting rights. America has not completed the task of healing our racial divide. For that reason, I propose $100 billion of reparations for slavery, $10 billion a year to be dispersed over 10 years, okay? An esteemed council of African American leaders would determine the educational and economic projects to which the money would be given. A lot of people were happy about it to a point, but there was a lot of people that was not happy in what Marianne Williamson is proposing. There's been multiple pushback from a lot of people. One of them stated that 100 billion is not enough. Now, at first, I was like, well, at least the conversation's out there, we can work on the number. But then I wanted to look at how many years was the actual Holocaust. And Germany has paid 89 billion, according to her. Now, the Holocaust, which everyone says, went from 1941 to 1945, okay? Slavery was 246 years. So, if the Jewish people have received 89 billion so far, how did she come up with 100 billion for 246 years of free labor? And then the other thing that people had an issue with was the part that says the esteemed council, of African American leaders. The questions were, who are these African American leaders you're talking about? Who? Is it people that you deem as African American leaders? Is it what the people say? Because, okay, let's say you get this $100 billion, okay? We don't want a bunch of boule Negroes sitting up there talking about what they gonna do for the black community, telling you to disperse this money. We want people that know what they're doing and actually love black people, like someone like Dr. Claude Anderson. You couldn't have nothing like that going on without a Dr. Claude Anderson. You couldn't, because that man's been talking for years how to help black people and laying the blueprint in a lot of his books. And I got all his books. I just bought the library pack as of recently with Dr. Claude Anderson. That brother knows exactly what he's talking about. So you couldn't even do anything. He just also, I saw he was talking about how the Trump administration also reached out to him and asked him for some advice. So everybody's reaching out to Dr. Claude Anderson because the brother has the experience and he has the knowledge. So this 100 billion, for me, that's a start, but that's not it. In my opinion, reparations should only not be cash, but reparations should be tax exempt status. You need that. Reparations should be portions of land, because you got to remember, black people had the land taken from them. Black people had their towns destroyed, whole towns. And there is so much land that the federal government owns that's not even being used that could be given. Some people say they don't want cash, they want gold, because they say that, the American dollar tanks is nothing but paper, which is smart if you get it in gold. But there's many things that we would need to be an accurate reparation. That's all I'm saying. But some people were saying about the tax exempt status. Well, tax exempt would only benefit those who have businesses. Well, it'll benefit you too, because if black people can start businesses and don't have to pay taxes, like the Native Americans don't have to pay taxes, then those businesses can hire more people because they ain't got to pay the tax man all this money because they're exempt. So they ain't got to pay the tax man all this money. Then that means they can hire people, and they hire you tax exempt as well. You keep more money in your pocket, just like the Native Americans. But you have to understand, the Native Americans were given money. The Native Americans also have their reservations, land. So we need our land too. We need our tax exempt status too. And we need our money, just as much as how the Native Americans getting it. Because nobody complaining about the Native Americans getting theirs. But when it comes to black people, all of a sudden it's a problem. Now, she talked about the Japanese, how they got their money too for being in internment camps. But it's time for black folks to start talking more and more about reparations. It's time, because they owe that. Trust me, they owe that. They owe not only reparations for slavery, they owe reparations for what they did to us during the 100 years of Jim Crow too. How they sabotaged us. Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that didn't happen during slavery. That was after slavery that happened. You burned down everything black people built. You bombed their stuff. So it's not just a reparation for slavery. What about all the homes that we lost, businesses that we lost, that we built with our own hands? Oh no, 100 billion, that's a down payment. That's not the whole thing. According to what Dr. King stated back in his time period, was 800 million. If you translate to that today, it's 6.4 trillion. That's the true number that reparations should be, $6.4 trillion. Like I say, 100 billion is just a down payment. That's just not it. I'm not against her want to give reparations, but she has to be a little bit educated, just a little bit more on the vast thing. You can't compare the Holocaust to what we went through here in this country. You can't. It's not the same thing. I wish slavery was the same amount of time as the Holocaust. I wish it was. But no, I mean, we went through a whole lot with slavery in this nation. And we still going through it now. She mentioned mass incarceration. She needs to talk about the war on drugs. There's a war on black people. Let's call that what it is. And Nixon's guy that was with him admitted it was a war on black people. All these black people you jailed, tearing families up. Because before this mass incarceration of black men, we didn't have no crime problems like that. Not like we have now, because the men were in the household taking care of their children. And then on top of that, Congress, you know good and well the majority of them don't want us to have no reparations. It don't matter if they Democrat or Republican. You remember when they asked Bernie Sanders about that? He said, well, I don't think it'll pass. And that's what you'll be with that. Yeah, okay, black people can get behind her. And then they like, man, we ain't voting on no reparations. Forget that. We ain't giving them, and you know how they are behind the scenes, how they talking. We ain't giving them Negroes no reparations, please. You literally have to vote every last one of them out that didn't agree with reparations. And you know that's not going to happen, because how many rural areas that you don't stay, they send the Steve Kings of the world to the Senate and the House. And how much can she give on executive order? That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of variables to that, and she has to be asked those questions when she's talking about reparations. What you gonna do about Congress? You know, I mean, it's a lot. Now, we have definitely reached out to her, and we stated that, hey, you know, Marianne, we would love to interview with you. Wherever you're at, we'll come to you. But we wanted to talk about what the platform she's running on. We want to talk about this reparations conversation. We do, because we need to be informed. Just because you put that reparations on there doesn't mean that black folks should just go run and vote for you. It needs to be explained a little bit more. I definitely want to know who this council is. I want to know, because, you know, these so-called leaders that they have for black people, that they're not really from the grassroots. And that would be a potential issue as well. But let me know what you think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I've read her website. I like the fact that she's talking about the food, because the food in this country is killing us every day, every single day. All of us is killing us. I like she's talking about getting rid of GMO foods and all that. You know, some of the things she's talking about, Medicare for all and all that. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the college thing, because, hey, people can go and get a higher education where they possibly can afford it. I'm good with that. The issue, like for me, is go back. Let's find out about this reparations you're talking about, because that's, you know, that's one of the deal breakers, at least with her. And that has to be expounded on, and let her talk a little bit longer, because this guy was trying to rush her off. He really didn't want her to explain anything. That's why we made sure to reach out to her. And we will attempt to reach out to just about everyone, even ones we disagree with, and maybe their position has changed. We don't know, but we want to be fair as possible. But leave me a comment, let me know what you think about this particular position that Marianne Williamson has on reparations. Do you see it as a good thing? Is it something you need to look more into, or are you just kind of turned off by it due to the number you feel is too low?